Sitting on the park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intensity. Hey, Aquila, drying in the cold sun, watching as the pretty pan.
Puss in Boots was an age-old fairy tale about a cat that helps his master go from rags to riches by using its cleverness to trick people. The NES incarnation is very loosely based on the original story. In fact, the title character is really about all that was carried over. The plot is fucking weird. Are you ready for this? Okay, here goes. Some upper-crust schmuck named Count Grumman discovers a mouse in his castle. Like all cats, he despises mice, so he enlists the help of Perro, aka Puss in Boots, to assassinate the mouse. Well, Perro doesn't have it in him to murder a mouse, so he helps it escape. This pisses Grumman off, although he should be happy because the mouse is gone. But instead he gets the help of a scientist named Dr. Gary to send Perro back in time. By the way, I'm not so sure about the pronunciation of these names, I'm just trying here. Perro must then travel all the way around the world to stop Grumman and Dr. Gary to send himself back to the present. Damn, do you think he really deserves all this shit for letting a mouse leave the guy's castle? And because Perro broke the sacred cat kingdom law, all these asshole cats are out to kill him. Okay, first off, if these guys send you back in time, why are they waiting for you at the end of the game? Shouldn't they be back in the present? And what kind of punishment is being sent back in time if all these goddamn cats were gonna kill you in the present anyway? If you're in the past, wouldn't everyone just be completely clueless as to who you were? And why do you have to travel all the way around the world? You start off in California and have to get to New York. So why not just go across the US instead of going the long way? And finally, none of this time travel shit is explained or even hinted at throughout the game at all. It just seems like you're a world traveler that's trying to kill as many people as possible. I'm not making any of this up either, I shit you not. Anyway, onto the gameplay. You control Perro in traditional side-scrolling fashion through 7 levels in different parts of the world. Depending on the level, you may be flying, sailing, or submarining, but typically you're on foot. While walking, you get 3 different weapons. A gun, which is the most useful. You'll want to use it about 95% of the time, because the bullets travel all the way across the screen and in a nice straight line. The bombs don't travel nearly as far. Apparently they do more damage, but most of the enemies can be killed with one shot anyway. The only time you want to use the bombs is during certain boss battles. The third weapon is the boomerang, which kinda sucks. You can only throw one at a time. It takes forever for it to come back, and the pattern it travels is ridiculous. I mean, can you really hit any enemies on the rebound without it being complete luck? One good thing about the boomerang is it's big, so it won't miss your targets all the time, but you're completely defenseless when waiting for it to come back. When driving a vehicle, you'll get just one weapon, which differs between whatever vehicle you're driving. Controlling Perro's basic movements are fine, but jumping is pretty damn awkward. You get a shitload of height, and your speed increases drastically, so you'll need to adjust between running and jumping, which makes timing a bit clumsy. The graphics are anything but stunning. Repetitive backgrounds, repetitive looking enemies, and really repetitive gameplay if it weren't for the extra vehicles to add a little bit of variety to the mix. I mean, just look at this map screen that shows up between levels. I know this is a Nintendo game, but come on. They could have made the continents resemble their actual formations a little better than this. They literally look like shit smeared on baby blue canvas. And Australia looks like an ass. The music in this game isn't gonna win any Grammy Awards either. It seems like whoever was in charge of the music just wrote a few generic riffs down and looped each of them and said, here's your soundtrack. Most of the songs sound like there's only 2 tracks or less, and most of them have no percussion at all. There are actually a couple tunes that aren't too bad, like the airplane and balloon levels, but even those are nothing special. Anyway, you get a health meter and can take several hits, but the collision detection is pretty bad. When you get hit, there's no animation or sprite change, you don't blink, and you don't even get slowed down at all. There is a sound effect to alert you, but it's quicker than a hiccup. You may not be able to tell if it was you firing off a bullet or taking damage. Another weird thing about taking hits is that every time an enemy hits you, it falls off the screen and dies. So all the cats that are after you because of this cat kingdom law are on kamikaze missions. Along the way, you'll find these power-ups. The money bags will give you points, which don't help you out at all. The hamburgers will fill your life meter up completely. The peril faces will give you an extra life, and the boot gives you temporary invincibility. Now, the shitty thing about invincibility is that the music doesn't change. Not that hearing a different tune is really that important, but usually the song will help you be able to tell when the invincibility is going to wear off. Instead, you'll blink when invincible, and then out of the blue it'll just wear off. So although you should be reckless and want to tear through everything when you're invincible, instead you've got to be cautious, which defeats the whole purpose of invincibility. You start off with 3 lives, and when you lose all 3, it's game over. But you do have the option to continue from the last level you made it to. The weird thing is you only get 3 continues, but there's no mention of how many you have left. You just have to keep count yourself. I thought there was a glitch or something when I picked continue, and it brought me back to the first level again. Another obscure part of the game is the bosses. Some levels just plain old don't have any. There are 7 levels and only 3 bosses. The levels themselves aren't very challenging at all, and they just end so abruptly too. You just suddenly walk off the screen and BAM! There's the map screen. No jingle or any fancy transition, just right on to the next level. There's no time to waste. The levels are not only easy as hell, but they're really short too. You can pretty much fly through this game in 15 minutes. Even when I was 8 years old, I rented this game and made it to the final boss within a couple days. Thankfully, it won't take nearly as long to show you in this video. The first level is out west. You'll come in riding a horse, and it must be a bumpy ride. Look at his fucking head bouncing. You'll be attacked by barrels and wheels, which can easily be avoided by jumping over them or onto these buildings up here. Or you can just blast them to hell. Then there's all these horseshoes that are coming from who the hell knows where. You can just run under them or walk behind them. What the hell are these things supposed to be? Evil bouncy red faces of death? You can just let them bounce right over you, but I'd shoot at them. That's pretty much the strategy throughout this game. Shoot at everything and dodge every once in a while. I don't understand the point of these douchebags that peer out of the windows. Maybe they're the ones throwing horseshoes, or maybe they're these tall fuckers that fly out of nowhere from behind. It doesn't matter though. None of this matters. Not long after you start this level, you're at the end already. And then you move on to the next level, which is in the ocean. You hop into a boat and immediately hit a bad thunderstorm. Lightning out the ass comes down at you. But you can dodge most of it by simply going straight. Every once in a while you'll need to back up to let it miss you. You can also shoot it, which is an interesting concept, blowing up lightning from 5 feet away with a missile from a boat. Then there are these sharks and pirate ships that come from either side. Fire rapidly at them, because the ships take a few hits and they fire back and jump. Eventually you'll hit land and end up taking a submarine for the second portion of this level. Your torpedoes can blast through the rocks as well as take out enemies. The only enemy that really poses a threat is the fish that comes from behind. It surprises you and takes a couple hits to kill. There's an invincibility boot up ahead that lasts about 5 seconds, but it's not that big a deal because there's only one enemy left anyway. You'll hit land again, and now you'll do battle with the first boss, a huge mechanical frog. He spits his children at you, 4 at a time, while hopping in place. Get close to him and fire off your bombs at his mouth when it opens. The little frogs will lob up and come back down, so they're not too difficult to dodge. Soon enough he's dead, and it's on to the next level.